bit. And I'll start off with a question for Netanel, which is, what led you down this path? What led you this path of liturgical music and your distinctive style, which I kind of describe as you going deep rather than broad. In other words, take a few words or a phrase and really dig into those words and that melody rather than deal with a whole, reciting every word of a prayer. So maybe you could tell us just a little bit about your pathway and how you came to focus on that kind of tefillah. You've got to unmute yourself first. There we go.
Okay, here we are.
Excellent.
Okay, good to jump in again here. Okay, where to start? So the easiest thing is I grew up in a Orthodox family, a house of cantors. And at home, we sang a lot, full of harmonies. And I think one of our unique path, maybe, of the family-wise, it's the melodies of the slowly ones, like that dveikut, really dveikus, deep ones. We're not in a hurry, nowhere. We're just diving inside this river. And that's the glove that I was born into, in a way. So that's my clothes. This is what I do. And for many years I didn't really choose it. So I grew up into it. But after let's say I finished the army, I went out I lived in the kibbutz, and I left the kibbutz, and I searched for what's my thing here? What am I doing? And I didn't really know. And but the music and the chants, not the chants came later, the chant, but the music and the prayer, it's like part of my body. It's not something I said, when did it come to me? It chose me, I didn't choose it. Never. And I don't know, a few years, like after the army, I traveled a lot, and then I found myself one night, Friday evening, someone invited me to the congregation of Navat Tehila, Rabbi Ruth Kagan, and it's in the beginning of them. It happened in their house. It was a very small congregation, very stuffed, many people. And suddenly I found myself. It's like, this is me. Like, this is my my connection. Zehut. How do you say zehut?
Identity.
Identity. Yeah, this is my identity. Here I feel connected, and it was, I think, the simplicity of what they did. They took one sentence and they just dived into that place, and we didn't need all the scriptures, all the text inside the book. We can just dive on one text, and that will be the prayer. And I felt really like water on a rock, more and more and more, just opening me and taking off of me like an onion, just opening me and opening me. And it penetrated my heart totally. And I started to study with Rabbi Ruth. They opened a Bet Midrash, and I've been there a few years. And afterwards, I just took these Argaz Kelim toolbox with me to my road, and I started to create my chants, my texts. I take from the toolbox of the Sidur, of the book, of the Tanakh, and I take it and I see it as I just saw this movie. I don't know how you say it in English. In Hebrew, it's called Kochavim al Pnei Adama, Stars Upon the Earth, and it's an Indian, very touching movie, and it's about this kid that has this dyslexia. I don't know how you say it in English. Is the
Yeah,
same?
that's exactly how you say
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Okay. And what he says there, that he looks at a book and he sees all the letters are dancing in front of him and he can't understand nothing. And what happened to me is that I understood what's there and I started to um, to make them dance in front of me. And then I start to play. I start to play with all this text that I have, and for me it's like a big toolbox. And in a way, the text call me. Sometimes I go to a text, but many times I do it like tarot, like I open cards and I just open and this text up came to me, and this is one I'm going to chant. And I dive into, and for me, less is more. Maybe that's the theme of chanting. Less is really more. Um, yeah. So this is what I do.
Great. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for opening up with that to give us a little lens into your journey. And so let me turn to Adam and say, it was 2013. We met Netanel through our Hartman program, and maybe talk a little bit about what that first time we met and sang with Netanel was like, and how that gave seeded our other connections with him and in our future programs, as well as then seeded the kind of work you've been doing in developing alternative tefillah at Beth Am.
Yeah, that Saturday night encounter at the Martef on Emek Rafaim in Yerushalayim, all it did was change my life. Yeah, 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 yeah. Those are the first notes I ever heard Netanel sing. And granted, the experience was primed. We were rabbinic colleagues. We were in Jerusalem. We were in a very Jerusalem-y gathering. Everything was perfect. We all are suffused in the tradition. We didn't have to teach one another. It was just an instant connection. But there was something about that experience that was clearly drawn from a very rich and thick tradition, but it was that tradition was being implied in the moment more than taught didactically, and it was so full and so immersive. I remember coming back thinking, why does it have to be that it's only if you're a group of rabbis together in Jerusalem that you had that experience? Why can't Sheriff in Dallas and Beth Am in Los Angeles and in Beth Shalom in Kansas City gather Jews together who are not necessarily all rabbis, who are not steeped in the tradition the same way, but they have souls and they have ears and they have vocal cords and they're aching for meaning? And was it possible for me to create an experience, a Shabbat prayer experience, that was at least a facsimile of that, slowed down, vulnerable, an invitation to be raw and open without it seeming kitschy, and deeply connected to a thousands-year-old tradition? So I had a meeting a few days after I got back from that particular trip with my then rabbinic intern at the time named Jonathan Bubis, who's now a rabbi, and you might know the name of someone else who at the time was a youngin coming just out of college who spent a year with us kind of as a musical troubadour. His name was Josh Warshawski. Now he's Rabbi Josh Warshawski and is making his own name for himself. And I said,
He was just with us a few weeks ago in this same venue. Yeah.
I said, we've got good davening at Beth Am. I'm proud of it, but how can we make an exceptional prayer and spiritual experience? We created a service we called it Hama'alot, from Shirei Hama'alot, from the Songs of Ascent, these steps, physical steps and the spiritual steps that the pilgrims would take going up to the temple in Jerusalem. We wanted our experience to be an ascent. And to make a very long story just a little bit less long, we created a service that was grafted onto the liturgical architecture of Shabbat morning. We wanted it to be connected to the tefillah. We wanted to sell it as a prayer experience. We hemmed a little bit on how halachically we wanted to sell it. Like, did we want people who were concerned about being yotze, having discharged their religious obligations that morning, would they be able to fulfill that in our service? We spent a lot of time creating it. It was a 90-minute service where every minute was crafted, that was filled with rich harmony, nigun, meditation, some Torah reading, an opportunity for people to hear Kaddish, and a and every time a uniquely different way to experience the content of the Torah reading, bibliodrama or storytelling or art or displayed art. We're a pretty traditional community in terms of Shabbat observance, but art that people had done, poetry, rhyming couplets, and it was a hit. And so what's happened at Beth Am is that it's actually now become an adjective. So there's a service called Hama'alot, which we do pre-COVID 6 or 7 times a year on a Shabbat morning, parallel to other services we do in the building. We also have done a high holiday version of it, which is less wedded to the liturgy and it's more like a 90-minute Rosh Hashanah burst of stuff. That I got to tell you, I know people feel a certain duty to come to the longer service, and I admire that duty, but I know that their energies get recharged, their batteries get recharged differently at this service, and so do mine in preparing for it and actually executing it. And now in the community, when it's become like a style, oh, do you want to do this Hama'alot style? It's not just when's the next Hama'alot service, but should we take 10 minutes at a board meeting and do something Hama'aloti for 10 minutes? And people know what we mean now, right? Let's slow it down, take 6 musical notes and touch people's souls. Isn't that why we're involved in the religious community? So that really, Netanel, began with you in the Martef. We have nicknames in our community. Should we do Netanel 1 or Netanel 2? Like the names of the Nigunim and the order in which I learned them from you. So you had a transformational experience on me and also by extension on this community. And I'll just add one more thing. That led to a Friday night imagination called Sovev, from a Kabbalistic idea in the Zohar that the Kadosh Baruch, the Holy One, is Sovev Kol Almin. God is encircling the entire universe and of reality. It's basically Hamalot style applied to Kabbalat Shabbat, using Netanel's and Micah Shapiro's and Joey Weisenberg's and Nava Tehila's and Josh Warshawski's and all the newer tunes. Not that the old tunes aren't wonderful. In fact, Joey Weisenberg does a wonderful experience of taking the old Tzaddik Katamar Yifrach, right, that everyone thinks was given at Sinai by Moshe. And if you slow it down and don't sing it hackneyed, but sing it slow and intentional, it's gorgeous, right? There's nothing wrong with the old tune. It's actually how we're actually approaching the experience. And we offer that, again, in a pre-COVID world, every other Friday night. Space matters. In the round, we're sitting close to each other in concentric circles so that the musical experience is built out from the inside as opposed to something being presented frontally. A lot more to say, but that's the beginning.
How do you see this building on or different from a lot of the foundational music and tefillah experiences we had when you and I were younger in USY and at Camp Ramah, Safam, Craig Taubman, Debbie Friedman? I mean, how does this fit with that? Right. So, do you see a connection, or what's similar, what's different? I mean, because those also certainly seeded a deep love for Jewish music, I know, for both you and I, but I'm curious, how is this similar? How is this different?
Yeah, we are the Jews and we are stupendous. Listen, my religious life and my Jewish life was crafted on music and togetherness, from Camp Young Judea to Ramah, where you and I met, to USY. I wasn't thinking about it. I was just doing it. And the moments that filled me up were when lots of voices were singing things from the tradition, either raucously or sweetly. And it's only kind of in retrospect that I realized how significant that was in embedding within me a Jewish identity that was going to be enduring and meaningful. So the musical themes were different, and the meter was different, and the way we handle it were different. But the most the moments of our childhood and teenagerhood that connected us through the tradition to the presence of the Holy One was song and tefillah. And I give credit to Ramah to teaching me the bikiyut. I learned how to daven the Amidah out loud as a repetition of the Amidah in Mag Shemim when you and I were in camp together, because Aaron Rolnick knew how to do it and I wanted to do it as well as he did. So I needed a certain expertise, the familiarity, the fluidity of the words coming out of my mouth. But where it got connected to my soul, when we sang with overlapping harmonies on Shabbat and hiking through the Negev. So I had no idea then that it was going to launch me into the rabbinate, and I certainly had no idea that I was going to be present for and a part of, in my own humble way, of new revitalizations. But it's not it's not a new idea. It's just that every generation has different spiritual aesthetics and different needs to re-plaster the room that they've inherited with a new layer. So I think that ended up being really significant in how I wanted to raise a family, and certainly how I want to continue to lead my community and the people I'm connected to in the Jewish world.
Great. Adam, I think you had a question you were going to ask Netanel for us.
Just remind me, because I'm not looking at the sheet.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So about the connections, the connections that he creates while he's doing his music.
Yeah. So as you've all experienced this morning, right, Netanel, your wisdom and your genius is not just in the notes you string together, and not just in the beautiful quality of your voice itself, how you invite people to participate both in their own minds, or people are traveling in their minds and souls as they're hearing you sing, and many times they're tearing up. And then you invite, whether you're in person at the Hartman Institute's outdoor concert area, or even in a setting like this, to share bursts, of words that that in other settings could seem cliche, but in this setting, it actually is just what people need to express. And I'm wondering how you came to that method, and what that method means to you, and what it's like for you to draw out people's emotions as you are leading them in song and prayer.
Wow. It's a difficult question. I'm not sure I'll remember all the question. I'm a bit ADD, so I'll do it slowly. I'm in a way, I'm asking from the people as I'm asking from myself for honesty. And I feel we don't have time on this planet not to be honest, in a way. And I'm asking all of us to do a step forward and to be here. We're not coming to levader, how do you say it? Entertain. I'm not coming to entertain no one, in a way. And I feel that when there's honesty like that, let's say that comes from me, or comes from people inside this circle, there's no place to run away of. And people are directly connected, totally. I don't think I'm doing something over, like my method. I don't have a method. Then just being honest with what I feel inside in the moment, and what I want to offer, and what I want people to offer. Now, imagine yourself inside shul. People are davening. Each one is with his own thoughts, with his own what's going on inside. And for 1 second, all of us can really share. I'm imagining now, like the shul I davened when I was a child. It's no chance. It's like a utopic idea, yeah. But people can share what they feel, what their intentions. What do they pray now for? They're shouting here, they're shouting there, they're shouting, and I miss it. And there's something that people want to get inspired from each other. This is my belief. Want to get inspired, but want to empower each other. We a bit forgot how to do it. The system, life, the tradition, everything. And in a way, it's to accept being vulnerable. How do you say vulnerable?
Vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable. And it's a choice that we make. And this is my invitation, that people do this choice when they come inside a place of prayer, real prayer, in a way to take off this shirion,
armor.
Armor. Yeah, Yeah, to be vulnerable, to feel. We're here to feel, and I just do it through music. This is my present. Each one does it in his her way.
It's all. I'm going to jump in quickly, and then I have to leave because I have a bat mitzvah
Okay.
that I have to go to. There's something exceedingly Jewish, obviously, about this conversation and about the music and certainly the liturgy we draw upon, but it's also universal. I think I've told this to you, Netanel, before, but in case I haven't, a couple of years ago, I was on sabbatical, and I was on a place called the Holy Isle, which is an island
Mm.
off of the southwestern coast of Scotland. It's a retreat. It's an island owned by a Tibetan Buddhist order, and they have a retreat center there. And I went as a participant to do a retreat in meditation in Qigong, which is this Chinese body posture. And by accident, and it's a much longer story, I ended up introducing the concept of Nigun to this group of people who are on this island. And I have recordings somewhere of me in Peace Hall on the Holy Isle singing Netanel Goldberg's Nigunim, and people are weeping, and they don't know why. They're not Jews. They're not connected to Torah. They don't know what Shachrit is. They don't know what Modeh Ani is. But there's something about the music itself, which is, a certain kind of musical um, brilliance, but the way it is wielded that is opening people up. So you're having an impact not just on the Jews of the Beth Shaloms of the United States of America and Israel, but whatever crevice this method and this music reaches, souls are being broken open. I feel bad that I have to leave in the middle of a great conversation, but I have a bat mitzvah waiting for me.
That's right. We understand. Tadara
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shalom, Adam. Yasher
Bye, Adam.
Koach. Yasher Koach. Good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
I just want
please.
to say about
You're fine.
that people, as people, doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, what their religion, want to connect. Everywhere wants to connect, wants to be a community, wants to touch, wants to be touched. And music does it. Dance does it. And if it comes from the place of honesty and truth, automatically it's like a magnet. Everyone, it's like a domino, connects to that honesty and truth, each one in her way, in his path.
I want just let me share a few words as well that I just wanted to give Adam and you a chance to talk more before he had to run, but I want to say so of course your music, I think some members of our community know that it's also your music and these experiences with you that led to me creating this prayer rhythm service that I started in my previous congregation, my last year there, and then brought here to Sheriff, which is definitely uses a number of your pieces, but also that inviting style that, and also like what Adam was describing, trying to get people more in a sort of in a circle or open to each other, and creating that kind of a space that's different than a lot of our typical prayer spaces. And it's been for me personally, a very powerful opportunity to reconnect with tefillah, reconnect with prayer, in a way that had been some of which had been dulled over time, because I've grown up throughout my life with traditional Jewish prayer and love it and feel very comfortable in it, but there's something else. There's something different, something special, something incredibly moving and uplifting about this kind of tefillah, and the kind of experience that you've been able to create for Adam and for me and so many others, and then help, in a sense, then let us share some of that out with our communities. For me, I'd also add, friends who are listening, that there's always a balance, right? I know we talk a lot about alternative prayer spaces and traditional prayer spaces and traditional tunes and alternative tunes and things like that. For me, again, speaking personally now, even doing once a month or on a periodic basis, having an experience like this is incredible, is like fills that void, or can fill that void and recharge that part of my battery. And then, fits so very comfortably with on other Shabbatot being in traditional mode. So it is a give and take. In other words, it's not, oh, we're either totally alternative in our prayer space or we're totally traditional. We can live in both worlds. I think that's what I'm trying to convey to folks. And it's certainly just speaking from personal experience. And I think one of the things that I encourage folks to consider is, especially as we heard Netanel talk a little bit about what are the things he's trying to do, what's he building on, which includes vulnerability and honesty, is that even folks who don't have, and I speak, including myself in this category, folks who, aren't regularly necessarily, for example, meditating or doing these kinds of chantings or prayers, if we open ourselves up to the possibility that this kind of music, this kind of experience can speak to our souls, if we're not sure, we're saying, I don't know, I'm skeptical, I'm just not sure, maybe this isn't for me. I'm just encouraging everybody who's watching and listening to leave open that possibility for a space in your prayer life for something like this. And know that, it doesn't preclude traditional davening. It's a complement to traditional davening in that sense, filling different aspects of your soul. But we can't be truly honest and vulnerable if we don't open ourselves up to the possibility to start with. And that's hard to do. It's hard to do because we walk into places and we walk in with our armor, our shirion, as Netanel mentioned, right? Like that's just sort of how we're wired. So to be able to find a way to remove that just a little bit and just let the guard down and just let the experience happen and just experience it as it comes and be honest and be vulnerable. And I think we then receive an incredible gift. And I just hope people will hold on to that thought, and as especially considering, and what we had we had a few more minutes, we were going to talk a little bit more with Adam as well about where we see the future in terms of alternative prayer spaces in our movement. But I will say that not just our movement, but in general in the Jewish world. But just to tie in also something that we talked about, which is this, back when we were younger, it was. Debbie Friedman, Safam, Craig Taubman, all those, there's always been, Shlomo Carlebach was alternative, in a sense, alternative Jewish music, when he started doing his style. So this is not new, the idea of creating different kinds of tefillah, different kinds of melodies, different kinds of experiences. It's something that we are constantly revisiting and welcoming into our Jewish life and to our Jewish organizational life and Jewish communal life. And so it's not a phase or a fad. It's something that I think we're going to continue to explore and figure out how this brings extra fulfillment and meaning and kavanah and intention to our prayer spaces. So I think it's, again, it's this kind of experience is here to stay in whatever iteration we find it, and to continue to experiment in that way and find ways to move people and open up their souls and connect them to each other and to God and to their, it's an incredibly powerful thing. So we'll continue to look for these pathways. And again, we've really been gifted with Netanel's music and his soul, not only this morning, but again, when you sang with us, with our group, with Adam and I back in at the Hartman program so many times, as well as with our Sheriff group when we were sailing on a boat on the Kinneret at sunset. It was, just a magnificent experience. And of course, we look forward to welcoming you back here, Netanel. You were here a couple years ago. God willing, there'll be a time soon where you'll come back again. We'll look forward to having you with us. And it's sitting in a circle with you once again to share this special gift and opportunity. So,
thank you
sorry, go ahead.
No, you say what?
I was going to say, to you for any final thoughts or reflections before we wrap and turn to Adon Olam and Kiddush.
First of all, I want to thank you very much again, Ari, for your invitation and for this you know, this world is really crazy now, and in a way, how I see it, all of us, each one and one at his her house, we're like rocks holding one big well holding this world together, holding it together, and in a way, not leaning on each other, but helping each other. Like that's the only way to hold each other. And I want to say one thing you said about the vulnerability of a circle, a bit to take off the shell, the armor. Yeah, in a way, the thing that is maybe a bit frightening is who will hold me, who will see me, who will I be when I will open my helmet. I'll take it off, and I want to offer that we're holding each other really to. This is something the nigun and the music does. We hold each other inside the singing, and we're holding each other's heart all together, everyone together. Um, and it's patience. We have to do it slowly, slowly. Each one does it in his time, how much he can open. And but it's happening. It's happening totally. It's really, really beautiful. So thank you again, and really I hope that we'll meet soon, face to face, and hug, and pray together, and fly together, and have
Okay.
a beautiful, beautiful Shabbat.
Thank you, Netanel. Ken Yehi Ratzon, and I say Hodu Ladonai Ki Tov Ki Le'olam Chasto.